Greetings. How are you guys doing? It's a wonderful, beautiful day today. I hope you guys are enjoying today. I actually have to leave my office for this particular recording. I need somewhere peaceful and quiet. You can actually see the background of my video. I'm sitting at the foot of a tree. I actually went out, so the air here is very very welcoming. I just wanted to enjoy nature. So today I'm going to be talking about the country with the highest economy right now, the biggest player in the whole world, the biggest player globally. So no, we are not talking about Nigeria today, though we'll circle back to Nigeria later on in the video, in this recording. We'll go back to Nigeria, but first I want to talk about the country with the biggest economy, the largest in the world. And please, I'm not talking about the United States. It's not the United States. I'm talking about China. So people may think the USA is the world power, but personally, in my own opinion, I think China is actually the world power. They won't come outside and announce it, but these guys are playing the game on a different level, man. We need to learn from them. So that's that. I'm talking about the Chinese economy. I'm talking about China. We'll do a deep dive into their economy, and I will give you reasons why you should invest in China and the reasons why you shouldn't invest in China. So I'm not going to take side. I'm just going to show you how it is, the reality over there, and how it's affecting us over here in Nigeria, which is why I said I'll circle back to Nigeria. So I'm just going to lay it all out, and we'll discuss it, and I'll leave the decision making to you guys to decide if China is a place you want to invest your money in. Every one of us have our own opinion, so you may not be seeing it from my own perspective, and if you think after you've heard everything I have to say, then you can give your opinion in the comment section. I will do well to reply it. So let's dive into it. Now, in terms of GDP, China has the second highest GDP. I'm talking of nominal GDP. The normal GDP, that we call that one nominal GDP. So China has the second highest GDP. Their GDP is approximately $20 trillion. That is the GDP of China. Approximately $20 trillion. Back home here, our own GDP is about $244 billion. Our president is running a campaign to get to 1 trillion within his time in office. So I pray that comes to pass, but looking at reality, it's not likely going to happen that way. But I like the fact that he's aiming for the sky. So even if we don't get to $1 trillion, we might as well get to, let's say, 500, 600, hopefully, if Nigeria economy keeps rising. So that is that. We're talking about China. So China's nominal GDP is approximately $20 trillion, and their PPP GDP. PPP stands for Purchasing Power Parity. That is to say, it's like your normal GDP, but this particular GDP, they have to make account for inflation and consumer purchasing power. So they actually make account for these things. Is the actual GDP that you can use to measure the situation of a country's economy. So that is PPP GDP. In terms of PPP GDP, China is the number one in the whole world. That is why I'm saying that China is the current world power. It's just that many people don't see this. They've strategically placed themselves in a place where you always need them. They are the one doing the supply, and the rest of the world are demanding them. And imagine that if you are a producer people are depending on you. You are the one controlling the purse. So this is why I say China is the highest. They are the one running the world right now, not the United States, not Donald Trump. Now let's talk about China's system of government. Before I really go into China's system of government, I want to talk about a system of government that many countries are operating in, or the one that we generally have. I don't know about your economies, but from my own perspective, what I've seen that countries operate in two systems, either an open system of government or a closed system of government. Some countries operate in an open system of government. I think the USA, they operate in an open system of government. Even Nigeria here, we want the world to think that we are operating in an open system of government, but really, if you really look at it, we are not really operating in an open system. We are operating in a closed system, and I will explain. In an open system of government, capitalism thrives. People are able to start up, build a company, and then allow the company to grow. But in a closed system of government, things are not really that open. Things are mostly regulated, and it is the job of the citizen to provide. I don't know if I should be using provide, but it is their job to follow through with what those in the ruling party wants. So China is operating in a closed system of government. They are also operating in a capitalist system. China also use a capitalist model, but their own is called a state capitalist model. You know what they do? The most vital sector of the economy is being operated by state-owned enterprises, while other sectors, which are not, I don't want to say not important, but they are less important, they can be operated by private enterprises. So what the government does is he operates the major sector like aerospace, like energy, housing, and semiconductors, and all these major sector that is highly in demand globally. So it is the government that is controlling it through state-owned enterprises. So their interest is aligned with their government. Despite the fact that the private sector account for about 60% of China's GDP, but even this private sector, the government is regulating them, and then they are also prioritizing government objective, sometimes even over their own business. One of the advantages of operating a state capitalist model, like what China is doing, is that these state enterprises, they benefit from the government. That is, they can easily loan money from the government. Government subsidize many things for them, and then capital keeps flowing into these enterprises, and they're actually doing well. And it is this other enterprise, this private sector, they are the ones that will not suffer from this thing, because it will actually affect them, because all the money is actually going towards this sector. Let's take AI for example. We are in an age where AI is booming. So the sectors that are into technology, AI in China, they can easily receive grants from the government. So these are the sectors that are actually benefiting from China's from the Chinese government. So you see, China operates in a state capitalist model, and then they have their own advantages, they have their disadvantages. So now let's talk about investment. Now I want to give you reasons why you should invest in China, why you should invest in the Chinese economy. Now let me ask you this: what do you think make Nigeria stand as one of the largest economy in Africa? One of the main reasons why people are seeking the Nigerian market is the numbers, the population. We have over 200 million citizens in Nigeria. That is a huge market. So, just like Nigeria, China has the highest consumer base in the whole world. China has the highest consumer. When you talk of population, China is the highest. So that alone accounts for one of the reasons why it is good for you to invest in the Chinese market. Their population is about 1.4 billion people. They are the fastest growing consumer-based market. So that's number one reason for you to invest in China. Another reason for you to invest in China is innovation. If you look at China, China is strategically focused in innovation. So when you are talking about tech and innovation, AI and the rest, China is at the forefront. So they are actually at the forefront of innovation. So if you are thinking of investing into the tech sector, China is a good place to look at because they are there. A third reason why you should invest in China is because of their competitive export system. They have a competitive export ecosystem. We usually refer to China as the world factory. Major production is being done in China. When you talk about production, manufacturing, China is the number one. Most of our products, most of our goods that we are importing, they are from China. In fact, not just us, most countries are importing from China. Even the US, the United States, most of the imports going to, or should I say, most of the imports going to the United States is from China. So China, they are the highest in exportation. So, and if you look at economy, what makes economy to be great is one of the reasons why economies are great is when their export exceeds their import. That is, they produce and they sell to other countries. So China is is the highest exporting country. So that is a good reason for you to look at China in terms of investment. Earlier I told you I was not going to take side. I'm just going to tell you how it is, and you are going to choose if you would like to invest in China or you won't. So now I've listed reasons why you should invest in China. Now I want to list reasons why you should not invest in China. Please listen carefully. Why you should know. One of the core reasons why you should not invest in China is their debt sustainability. What do I mean by debt sustainability? If you check the public data that are public record, if you check these data, you will know that the money that is owed to China currently, debt owed to China. I'm not talking about debt that China is owing, no, that's different. I'm talking about debt that is owed to China. Nigeria alone, what we are owing China is over $5 billion. And the Bible always says that a debtor is always a slave to the creditor. So from this perspective, I would not advise anyone to invest in China because of the debt. Even locally in China, some of these enterprises that are owned by the state, even some of the private sector that the Chinese government lent money to, most of them will not be able to pay back this money, because the Chinese economy is doing very well. They can easily borrow and borrow and borrow out. They will give out loans, especially to this sector that are doing well. So the states will be borrowing money from the federal level, borrowing money that they can't pay back. So if you look at this system, as long as the economy is growing, fine, both parties will be benefiting. But what about if tragedy hits? Like, sometimes we don't pray for it, but it happens. COVID-19 is a very good one. So it's not very wise to be dependent in a country. So imagine now, we as Nigeria, we keep borrowing and borrowing money from China. And then when it's time to pay back and we could not meet up, it can lead to other things which I will tell you about. The actual stories about these things. So debt sustainability is one of the reasons we shouldn't invest in China. Another reason why you should not invest in China is trade imbalance and then domestic decline. So there is no way to balance our trade with China. We can't even balance it. Don't even go there. The trade between Nigeria and China cannot be balanced. They always have leverage over us, because what we export is mainly raw materials and crude oil, and most times we don't really export these things to China. China don't really need most of our raw material like that, though we export some of them to China, but we rely heavily on them for most of our imported goods. So you see that the trade is not balanced. It's always favoring China. And then another thing again, if due to the cheap product that marketers are importing from China, it leads those domestic products we now have in Nigeria. People will no longer patronize them, because they can easily get it for cheap from China. So it is hurting our local business here, and then some of our marketers are making money, but the local business is suffering, because those that want to produce locally will find it difficult to produce, because when they source for the raw material locally, it is expensive in Nigeria, to start going through the process of production, and then after producing, at the end you put a price tag to your product, and you see that this price tag will be very high compared to China's product. So you see the relationship there. It's actually hurting us, and that is a good reason for us not to invest in Chinese company, or for us not to be reliant on them, on China. So we have to kind of lessen it a bit, reduce it, so that we will not be too dependent on them. Another reason why you should not invest in China is because of their regulation and then the politics that they play over there. Let's say you want to invest in a Chinese company, you are looking at Alibaba, this company is doing well, let me invest in this company. But do you know about the politics that is going on there? So you have to be very careful, because Chinese they don't operate in an open system. Like I said, they operate in a closed system. So private companies are not allowed to just thrive like that. If them thriving will benefit the country as a whole, then country will allow them to thrive. But if them benefiting will undermine the country, then the country will not allow them to thrive at all. So these are some of the factors you have to look at. The regulation of companies over there in China is quite different from the regulation of companies in the US and then in Nigeria. There is an actual real life event to actually prove my point. Those in the tech sector will know this story, especially the fintech sector will know this story. So most of us know Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. So in 2020, Jack Ma was to start an IPO for another company called the Ant Group. This one is the financial sector of I don't know if it's of Alibaba. So it is the financial sector. It will manage the financial part of Jack Ma's company. And then he was planning to launch this IPO in 2020. And investors all around the world, they were very excited because it is going to be one of the greatest IPO the world have ever seen. People were looking to get in on that investment. They don't want to miss it. So because the company is valued at trillions of dollars, and then people, even before launching, even before the company was planned to launch, they already have customer base of over 300 million users. People are already using the company. The thing has already started to trend in China. But I think a few days to launching this IPO, Jack Ma came out to hold a conference, and he was saying things that is he was kind of castigating the Chinese government that their laws need to be changed, and that the way they operate is not really right, that the launch of this IPO is going to change things, stuff like that. And he forgot that he was in a country that is operating in a closed system, and this thing really kind of angered the Chinese government, and they felt really embarrassed. Before you know it, this IPO that everybody was looking towards, Chinese government, they stopped the IPO, and then they stopped the IPO, they restricted it, and then later Jack Ma has to change the company to a kind of a holding company that is subject to regulation just like any other banks. So you see, Chinese is a very dangerous place to invest in. So you have to be very careful if you are planning to invest in China. You have to look at all these things, and if they are going to work for your favor, then good and fine, you can invest in China. So there are other reasons not to invest in the Chinese government, but I have to cut this video short. We have deflation, we have their aging population, and so many other reasons why you should not invest in China. But I have to go, so maybe I will make another video to complete this particular video. But I have to go now, so bye for now, and I hope you've learned something.